Hi guys, it's Kadeja with Auggie Bear Publishing, and I am so excited to introduce you to our next award-winning children's book author, the 2025 Clara J. Johns Literary Awards for Most Creative Book, Kristin Blakely. Hi! No veggies in
Hi.
Mommy's tummy. How are you today?
I'm so great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so super excited to be here and so happy to share my book. And I have a new stuffy to add to my collection.
Oh
And
my gosh!
here is my broccoli. It's a hard hunt for veggie stuffies, but they
Yes.
are out there.
They're out there. They're out there. First of all, that's awesome. We want to hear all about that. Let's first start with one. How did you feel when you heard that you won first place for most creative book?
I was so excited, so happy to see that gold seal on the book. Best feeling. And of course, my support team, otherwise known as my three sons and husband, we're so happy. And I actually think it's a really fitting award for this book because it really is a creative idea. It's just like
Yeah.
fun mashup of
Yes.
monsters and veggies.
Yeah.
And like a story that is highly relatable, but with kind of unrelatable characters.
Yeah.
Because they're monsters and mummies.
Yes.
But that's something that I really love in my books. And I love the idea of mashing up kind of odd pairings and things that you might not always think about. And so I do think it's a creative idea. So I'm so excited.
Yes. And exactly what you said. Some of the judges said that it was a very creative way to encourage children to try new things. And so tell us a little bit about the concept. I know you kind of touched on it a little. Why did you decide to use a mummy for the
I know.
main character and the whole family?
I love monsters, and my own kids have loved monsters. And I feel that mummies are sort of underutilized in the
Yes.
world of kids lit.
Yeah.
There's a lot, like we had the big vampire movement. Like there
Mhm.
was I feel
Yeah.
like we've got a lot of vampires. We've got a lot
Yes.
of like
Witches.
other monsters.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I feel like the Halloween genre like has really like lots of goblins and witches, and
Yeah.
so I felt like what about mommy? And
Yeah.
I think mummies can be quite cute, and I really loved one of my favorite parts of the book is actually seeing the mummified dog in the book and the
Yes.
illustrator who came up with this idea and really like expanding on a whole mummy family. There we go.
Yeah.
I love the
Yes.
dance party. That's, my favorite. But I think monsters are an interesting proxy for kids. It's a safe way to explore, different avenues and different experiences in a really safe way because you could see what the monster's doing and the monster's thinking about it. So yeah, and I actually I have a series with Carolyn coming out. So we have another book with a little werewolf and another one with
Oh.
a little Bigfoot. So I'm trying to pick like monsters that feel a bit underutilized to
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
Because I also think it's a great way of sort of, expanding our awareness of the monsterverse.
Yes. And I also love because all the books that come through, I always read them with my boys. I have two boys. Just because, we love reading and we love, obviously children's books, but it's always like really interesting to see what comes through, and when this came through, we're like, what do you think, just based off of the cover, like, what do you think this story is about? And it was funny, interesting concepts that they were coming up. They were like, oh, like, is it Halloween? Like, instead of having candy, they're gonna have to have like vegetables. Like, what are all these things? And we were really surprised to realize that it had nothing to do with Halloween and that it had nothing to do with candy. It was just straight about food. And they really enjoyed the story because they were like, okay, that was cute. That was cute
I
how
love that.
this
I
author
love
did
that.
that. Yeah. So
There is like a nod to Halloween, I feel at the
yeah,
beginning,
yes,
like we see the little treat bag. But I
right.
also think that like I wanted a book that felt that you could still read this for sure in October, and it can feel
without
on
a doubt.
theme.
Yes, for sure.
But at the same time, it can last all year. And I think sometimes these very thematic, genre, very time specific books, and they don't have a long time on your shelf.
Right. It doesn't have a long shelf life for sure.
So I feel like this is one, as a parent, I'd be I'd have this on high rotation for October.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't need to retreat by the holidays. And also I think with kids, I noticed, I found with my own kids, they were really good eaters, but they definitely had picky phases and picky moments. And so that was something I love that a book can open a conversation and be used at particular points in one's parenting journey, because sometimes you have literally a picky season.
Yeah.
I remember one of my boys had a picky summer. This
yeah.
He was picky about everything that summer. And so I think that happens. And so this book for me is one that for sure it's going to work in an October theme, but also we can carry it on. It's got a whole shelf life through the year.
For sure. It transitions through any season. It's that's the main, and exactly, you said there was a nod to the Halloween in the beginning, but the story isn't themed around that. These are it's just not the typical thing that you would think. And I love how you said in the beginning, it meshes up with the animal, the monsters with food, and you're you don't really equate the two together. So
yes,
you for that. So you mentioned that you have another book that's coming out, part of this series. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the next one is about a little werewolf who doesn't want to go to sleep. And I, of course, find this so funny because werewolves are nocturnal. And I think, again, these are really relatable struggles that as parents and kids that we deal with, whether it's eating your veggies or going to sleep. And so this next one is very much the relatable, hey, I don't want to go to bed and let's work this out together.
Yes.
And I really like things to be entertaining first before they're sort of heavy-handed with an educational or because kids can sniff that out a mile away. They 100% know when you are trying to get a lesson down for them. And so again, I like that using this really creative idea with a different monster having a relatable childhood adventure. And then the last one, and it's with the same publisher, about a little Bigfoot who does not want to get his hair cut.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
And of course, you can think of the thick fur, and it's also, this one actually takes place in the summer.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of us have had the conversation with our kids, hey, it's summer, maybe we should lose some of the locks. And, and, gear up for
a huge fight of no, I don't want to. What's going to happen,
Yes. So these are all, again, these relatable experiences that we are going to have these conversations. And I love that a book can really deepen a conversation and enrich a difficult time that you're going through as a parent. And then that book can spark a conversation and really help talk about what you're going through with, again, by using monsters as a proxy. Kids have that distance from the character. And I think that's really helpful because, we could say well, what did, Wolfie the werewolf or what did little mummy or what did little Biggie, all these little, how, why do you think they don't want to get their hair cut? And, gosh, it really does sound scary. Let's think about that together. And so this has just been a really fun way, and it really has resonated with my own 3 sons. So I get their seal of approval before anyone else's.
Yes. And if they can give you that seal of approval, then you've won. You've won when your kids are okay, this feels good, Mom. This feels good. And just to briefly talk about the characters, and you're talking about kids can sniff out a lesson before anything else, right? But I think that these characters, every last one, from the mom to the mommy, they're so adorable, and you can definitely have a connection, and kids can make the connection with anything, literally, as long as it's written well. And this book is well written, illustrated. Where can people find you? How can they stay connected? And where can they pick up this award-winning book?
Well, thank you so much for asking. This book is available through Amazon. It is available through Barnes & Noble. And of course, all the links are on my website, KristinBlakely.com, and that's Kristin Blakely.com. And my Instagram handle is @authorKristinB. And I often post about new books that I have and new projects and author visits and all sorts of fun stuff. But the links are on the website and easily searchable. If you put in Veggies and Monster in a Google search term, not much is going to come up.
Yeah.
We got that covered.
Yes.
Findable for sure.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, hear all about the background of this award-winning book and all the things that you have coming down the pike. We can't wait to see what else you have in store. Hopefully more veggies that we can see with your broccoli there. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure you head over to augiebear.com to check the link for her book and other award-winning books. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.